I had to keep my expectations in check when we got into episode 11 of ReZero second season part 2, mainly because I don't think that they could have followed up episode 10 with anything that equally as amazing, but it was still a solid episode overall. I think my only issue that we'd had with this episode is we're kind of similar to a couple episodes ago in my impressions. We're retrading our steps a little bit too much with the Beatrice thing, but thankfully this time we got a little bit of insight from her perspective, which was a nice added bonus. Like I said, the story is about redoing things over and over again, but it's always when they do new things that is or reveal new things is when it's actually is that's its bread and butter basically. Getting these different perspectives. But yeah, we opened up the episode with Roswaal and Puck. Roswaal is at this point not knowing what he's going to do. He no longer has his book. He no longer has his guide. He no longer has his everything. So he basically has lost his soul at this point. Even though the entire time he's wondering what he's to do, I'm yelling, Hill Rem, Hill Rem, Hill Rem. I can tell you what to do. Your teacher is saying Hill Rem. Puck does acknowledge the fact that Roswaal did precast this snow effect, so obviously it went into effect even though he was trying to stop it. He said that Roswaal is still human. He has a human in him, and specifically that he's not the same demon as that one person, which I'm assuming they're talking about the guy that came to the sanctuary originally when they first created the shield. There was a guy that was dressed just like Roswaal, I believe probably is somehow related to him in some way. But yeah, I'm assuming he's talking about him, that devil. So Puck leaves to go see if he can slow down the snow, and I believe that's when he goes and gets Ryuzu and all them. Emilia comes out, notices that it was snowing. The villagers are being shielded by a kind of igloo-looking thing that apparently Puck had created to shield them. And then Puck apparently went over to help Ryuzu, and that's when Emilia goes over there and finds all the Ryuzus, and Shima at the altar itself. And this is a moment where we have like they hand Puck back over to Emilia and kind of mention that he was protecting them. And the assumption here is that Puck got Ryuzu, brought them there to shut down the core. And the way that Shima does this is that she sacrifices herself. The one thing that was interesting to note is that at some point while responding to Emilia saying, well, let's get her out of the crystal and take her to the graveyard. We can get a stretcher and stuff and take her over there. Shima responds with Ekidona's voice and says you're unbelievable or something like that. And so I'm curious as to, granted, technically they are supposed to be, we're supposed to be like vessels for Ekidona eventually, but I'm not quite sure exactly why it happens now. I don't know if there's something they're going to explain later. If you know from the light novels, please don't say anything in the comments. Let us speculate and enjoy the show. We don't need to have all the answers. I like the intrigue of this. But if it was explained, then let me know, and let me know what episode. I don't need the explanation, just where it was explained, but at what point in the story it was explained. But anyways, that aside, yeah. So yeah, despite Ryuzu being pretty upset about this, or the Ryuzus being pretty upset about this, Shima does sacrifice herself to stop the core. They disappear. I'm not sure if that's gone. Is it a full on? Is this an acknowledgement of full on sacrifice? She's done, or if it's something else, but not really fully explained at this point. Similar to the body in the graveyard, not explaining what that was, if it was an Ekidona. But she asks the Ryuzus to show her where Roswaal is. They get there. Roswald's completely shut down at this point, just healing Ram. And we get Ram moving. Ram moves. We've at least at this point acknowledged that Ram is still alive, which is great. I was super excited. I'm just sitting there waiting. I'm waiting. And yeah, sure enough, she moves. And I had an internal cheer of excitement. Now, granted, like I said, if they chose to kill off Ram at this point, that's the decision of the writer. Not killing Ram off at this point is not the signs of a weak writer. Just that they chose at this point is not the time. I'm fine with death. I'm not fine with death without purpose. And granted, she did have technically a good purpose at this point to do that. And the writer could have let it into that. But obviously the writer has other intentions whether it be to sell figures or to continue her story and sell merchandise, or that there's another purpose for her. It's not her time. So I'm fine with that. But yeah, Emilia has to kind of snap some sense into Roswald as he's kind of giving up on everything. He's like, it's over. I don't have anything else. He's like, no, I'm not. You can't give up. I'm not gonna let anybody give up. I'm not gonna lose anybody. Kind of smack some, not really smack some sense into him, or strangle some sense into him. And he seems to be better because he runs off with them to flee from the bunnies. We have the return of the bunnies. The killer bunnies have returned. Of course, that was the next step in the whole process we've seen in the past, where the snow is, the rabbits come. So yeah, it kind of drives them into the area. But yeah, that was a solid little scene right there, and then it kind of jumps from there as Emilia is kind of, holding up a final stand. We see the perspective of Beatrice, and we get an insight into the past 400 years, which was something we haven't really seen before. There's a lot of speculations and hints at what has happened and what led to this, but this is kind of a clear perspective that Echidna brought her there, said, this is my library, it has all my vast knowledge in it. I want you to stay here. Here's a book. It's a copy of the other ones, but it's not completed, and that you need to wait until that person comes to get you, basically. And I know that she kind of speculated before that it was the person that would kill her. I think in one of the resets, Subaru just kind of turned into a thing of something else other than that. That was one of the treads that we did, was the idea that her believing that it's the person that's supposed to kill her, and that's why he doesn't accept it this time. But yeah, and we just gonna have we did get a little insight into Roswald, the original Roswald that comes in there. She said they don't speak to each other. He just comes in there to get the knowledge. And he is specifically in one scene looking at a book about replication, which I believe is probably the knowledge that she had of how to create the copy Ryuzu's. And we're assuming that he's using that. He used that to create himself over and over again into the future, always retaining his memories, just like Ryuzu did. So he's using the same imagery that Echidna used to make Ryuzu to make himself over and over again, to retain his memories. And this kind of continues as you see different versions of Roswald. She talks about this other people showed up and they try to pull him out of there, but they failed. And then finally Subaru shows up. And this is where we kind of just get into the... Yes, I still love these scenes. They're still incredible scenes. They're portrayed very well. I love the idea of like the fire is causing this kind of inner chamber to collapse on itself. There's little shatters in the world itself. And he's just trying to pull her out of it, but she just won't accept him. You denied me. You said that you weren't that person. And he's kind of like, I can't save you. I don't have the power to. You're incredible. Only you can save me, and that, even though that it is a blip, a blink of an eye is a human life to you, I'm still going to be here tomorrow, and I'm going to imprint myself into you. And he kind of just keeps hitting on this aspect and to choose me, and then she eventually just accepts him, and they both, spring out of there and go to Emilia's side, holding hands, which was really cool. I really like that scene. She's like, I won't be held responsible for what's going to happen. But no, like I said, it's great to see Rambeck, of course. It's great to see, all the stuff that Puck had kind of did before he kind of finally lost all of his energy and had to kind of go into slumber again. Seeing Emilia's kind of resolve and pushing Roswald being broken at this point, was fantastic. Getting a perspective of Beatrice. It is a real tragic thing. It's like, as one line that Subaru says is really incredible, and is you're waiting for somebody, obviously, because you've been sitting in front of the door. It's kind of like that last push of like, you've been waiting for somebody. I'm here, kind of thing. Let's go. Choose me. Let's go. But it is a tragic thing, because to think about how long she's been waiting there, and how fleeting human life is, and how lonely she is incredibly depressing. And that is the thing that, even though I do get frustrated about retreading the steps of getting Beatrice out of there, she is probably one of the most tragic stories that we have, is that sense of loneliness, that she was abandoned and that she believes Subaru is going to abandon her as well, just like everybody else did, and leave her alone for 400 plus years again. That's her fear, and that unwillingness to accept somebody else because she's afraid of that abandonment is the core of her story. And I do like that they were at it again, out of it again. Hopefully we don't get another reset and have to go into this again. But I'm sure the writer will have something else to get into with her if that's the case. But yeah, like I said, overall a solid episode. Just unfortunately not really much to talk about, and that's really kind of where I like the intrigue and the interesting points that the writer creates. And this one just kind of just retreaded some things and closed a chapter. And so we'll see where it goes from here. We only have one more episode left, and it's terrifying. I don't know that we've had an announcement for a third season yet. I'm sure that if they are going to do it, they'll put it at the end of the next episode, which is the final episode of this season. I'm hoping we get a nice solid chapter close, not a repeat of what happened with part 1, the ending of part 1, which was very frustrating because it felt like a page turn. But it feels like it's coming to a climax, hopefully, unless they start throwing, like, I don't know, Pandora shows up out of nowhere, that we're going to be back in that situation. But yeah, what do you guys think of this episode? Was it a solid episode for you? Is anything in there that I missed? If you guys enjoyed it, let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you did like this episode, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, please keep the spoilers out of the comments, please. But I hope you all enjoyed, and y'all take care.